An extreme leftist and a nationalist will be the next president of Mexico. He won in a landslide. He will be inaugurated on December 1st. His name is Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Let's get to any of these elements, guys. There we go. There's the VO, half slab there. Joe, I saved this full screen for you. AMLO is what he goes by. It's his nickname. It is an acronym for Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Like I said before, you call him President López Obrador. President López, do not call him President Obrador. Two last names, we Latins are difficult like that. Yeah, exactly. What is true is he trounced the traditional parties, like we've seen in a lot of places in the world. Right. He came in with about 54% of the vote. Look at the number 2 and number 3, distant second and thirds for the establishment parties. He did not run on his hard left a campaign as he's done the last 2 times. He moved more towards the center and ran very much on anti-corruption and anti-crime. President Trump tweeting out late last night, congratulations to Andrés Manuel López Obrador on becoming the next president of Mexico. I look very much forward to working with him. There is much to be done that will benefit both the United States and Mexico.
LeBron James leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers, going to the Los Angeles Lakers. 4-year deal, $154 million. He's the rare star that keeps moving around in his prime. This is all about business because there were better teams available. There were higher salaries available to him, but he gets to be in Los Angeles. That's where his growing media empire is. It includes movies, TV shows, digital media, the uninterrupted network. He was the EP of a show on CNBC. Remember Cleveland Hustles? Yep. That was a LeBron James production. Part of the attraction, though, a lot of people said, he gets to play and work for Magic Johnson, who may be the person in the entire world that's most similar to LeBron, because he was a giant on the court, but he made an even bigger fortune off the court. LeBron looks up to Magic Johnson, sees him as an idol with what he's done, basketball, business, philanthropy, so maybe that's part of the attraction.
Let's talk a little bit about the WTO. There's some question here about what the president's intent is in terms of the World Trade Organization. Not exactly clear. The White House was knocking down some reports that the president had said behind the scenes he wants to get out of the WTO. But then yesterday he was asked about it in the Oval Office, and he said this.
WTO's treated the United States very badly, and I hope they change their ways. They have been treating us very badly for many, many years, and that's why we were at a big disadvantage with the WTO. And we're not planning anything now, but if they don't treat us properly, we will be doing something.
So the president there saying we're not planning anything now, but if they don't treat us properly, we will be doing something. Not clear what that something is, if it's a full withdrawal from the WTO or something just short of that. But clearly there's something on the president's mind here.
Facebook is falling here in the pre-market. Social network reportedly facing a broadening investigation into its sharing of data with the political consultancy Cambridge Analytica. According to the Washington Post, now representatives from the FBI, the SEC, and FTC are all joining the Department of Justice in its inquiries about the 2 companies and the sharing of personal information of 71 million Americans. And also, according to this article, guys, SEC specifically is going to look into the public comments from Facebook around this issue. We heard from Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, apologizing and explaining it to Congress. That's just one of the executives. What did they know? When did they know it? What did they do with that information? And how did they communicate around it, I guess, are the key questions. And what
went into the decision, whatever it was 3 years ago when they discovered this, not to disclose it publicly to investors and to the public?
The U.S. is expected to impose tariffs later on today. We are counting down to that, in fact, over $34 billion in Chinese imports. China says it will promptly strike back against any actions. Seema Modi joins us now with a look at where things stand at the moment. Hey, Seema.
Michelle, hello. This all started in March when the U.S. administration unveiled wide-sweeping steel and aluminum tariffs. And that sparked retaliatory responses from China, Mexico, the European Union, and Canada. Let's just break it down, starting with China, which put tariffs on $3 billion worth of U.S. goods like aluminum, steel, fruit, and pork. Mexico also responding with $3 billion in tariffs on pork, cheese, steel, among others. The European Union also retaliated, unveiling tariffs on bourbon, orange juice, and motorbikes. Now, this is the one that went into effect in late June and resulted in Harley-Davidson announcing it's moving some of its production to Europe. And then there's Canada, hardest hit by those steel tariffs, responding with force, $12.6 billion on U.S. goods like steel, whiskey, and U.S. condiments. Now, these are just some of the major items on the list. Overall, there are hundreds of individual U.S. products being subject to these tariffs, but It's the next round that could spark an even larger international response. As part of the intellectual property tariff battle, the Trump administration, starting tomorrow, will impose duties on 818 Chinese imports worth $34 billion. That is down from the $50 billion that was first wagered. China says it will counterpunch, taking aim at agricultural goods from politically important states. The other big trade dispute, as you guys were discussing, with the European Union, President Trump had initially threatened to impose a 20% tariff on all cars and auto parts from Europe. Report today suggests that may not get implemented. Either way, guys, a lot of moving parts on the trade front.
Breaking news on EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt. John Harwood has a story for us. John.
Wilfred, President Trump has just announced over Twitter that he has accepted the resignation of Scott Pruitt, his controversial EPA director. The president said he's done an outstanding job within the agency, but that he is now leaving and he's going to be replaced by his Senate-confirmed deputy, Andrew Wheeler. I would not expect a big policy change for this, but it does relieve a huge headache for the administration in PR terms. Scott Pruitt has been facing more than a dozen ethics investigations for everything from trying to get his wife a job or a Chick-fil-A franchise to his use of security details and special favors regarding his housing. He was in a huge amount of trouble, more than I can remember any cabinet member being, and finally President Trump has accepted his resignation. Very conservative former Attorney General of Oklahoma. Scott Pruitt is following the deregulation wishes of a lot of Republicans and business people with respect to environmental concerns at the EPA, but he is now out. Andrew Wheeler will take over.
President Trump launching the opening move in a trade war with China just 6 hours ago. The U.S. officially imposing tariffs on $34 billion of annual imports from China. President Trump also threatened to extend tariffs to all $500 billion of goods imported from the country. And Eunice Yoon joins us right now. She is live in Beijing this morning. Eunice.
Thanks so much, Andrew. You know, for about 3 hours or so, we were on tenterhooks, wondering whether or not the Chinese were having a case of cold feet. But the foreign ministry then clarified and confirmed that China, in fact, did retaliate with its own tariffs immediately after the U.S.'s move. Customs officials have already started collecting duties for 545 items worth $34 billion. This is the same amount, matching the amount subject to U.S. tariffs. The targeted goods include crops like soybeans, as well as cars. And earlier today, the Commerce Ministry said that it really had no choice but to fight back and against what it described as the largest trade war in economic history.
Jobs Day, the U.S. adding 213,000 jobs in June, unemployment ticking back up to 4%. Our senior economics reporter, Steve Leisman, back at headquarters digging through the report, joins us with more. Steve?
Scott, thanks. You know, with employment growth once again north of 200,000, the jobs market continues to defy expectations for a slowdown, either from perhaps trade-related concerns or a lack of workers. But muted wage gains also defying expectations that all this job growth we've had will propel bigger paychecks. Here are the numbers. Non-farm payroll is up 213, a bit better than expectations. April, May revised higher together by plus 37,000. Average hourly wages good at 0.2, but not off the charts. The unemployment rate ticking up as many people came into the workforce. They didn't find jobs immediately, so you're now at 4%. And you can see the increase in participation up to 62.9. Over at Pantheon, Ian Shepardson writing, quote, the unemployment rate rose because the increase in household employment, 102,000, was swamped by a huge 601,000 jump in the labor force, marking the first significant increase since February. Let's take a look at where people did find jobs. Education, health services up 54,000. Always the case that sector is strong. But manufacturing also strong, up 36,000. Leisure hospitality up 25. Transportation warehouse up 15,000. Retail down a strong 22, but it had a big gain last month, so no reason for concern there. Fed funds futures currently pricing in an 80% probability of September rate hike, 48% chance of a second one in December, with job growth strong. That's the payroll number, but wage gains still below 3%. Fed likely to see this report, guys, as confirming a track of gradual rate hikes.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.